Hello everyone, today is 18th of January. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Friends, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. So guys, today we will be taking a quote from the Albert Camus, the French philosopher who has even been the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. He says, democracy is not the law of majority, but the protection of the minority. Guys, this particular quote points out that democracy doesn't stands as a rule of majoritarianism or the tyranny of majoritarianism. Rather, democracy as a political system exists so that the weakest of the weakest sections can be provided an equal voice into the pressing political decisions and matters. And guys, into this particular direction, right now the governments across the world, they need to see that whether into the name of democracy they are preserving the rights of the minority, or whether the rule of a majority or the tyranny of majoritarianism is running. So guys, this particular viewpoint we can use into our GS paper number 2 related answers as well as into the topics of essay. So that's it, and now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now guys, taking up the first article, so as you can see that all the papers are flooded with the one information onto their key page, that is the vaccine drive that has started. So guys, into this particular respect, large number of articles are coming. This article has been taken from the Hindu, this article has been taken from Indian Express editorial section, and this article has also been taken from the Hindu editorial section. Now guys, what it is all providing, you first of all don't need to be too much considerate onto this issue, because this information will be ever evolving, and by the time you will be writing your exam, much of the things would have been changed. Now guys, first of all, the early patterns into the vaccination, we can see that the government decided to vaccinate 3 crore frontline staff and 30 crore people into the priority list eventually by the month of July. Now, first of all, we can see that there is a very well executive ability in India to administer such large number of vaccine, because of the universal immunization program that India is taking under the mission Indradhanush specifically. We are vaccinating so many of the children, so we have the capacity. But right now, the problem that is coming, it is the vaccine hesitancy into the people. And guys, we can see that just 2.24 lakh people have been vaccinated in 2 days, and even there have been the adverse reactions also which are happening. Now guys, it has been seen that into many of the states as well as union territory, just 50% people have actually turned out for the vaccination out of the total number who were registered, and this low response has actually become a matter of concern. Now guys, into this particular capacity, it has been provided that government needs to provide much of the information to the people, that what is the nature of the adverse reactions that are happening, and and how these adverse reactions are not fatal and might and should not deter the other peoples, that they should not come for the vaccination. It has been seen that a kind of a wait and watch kind of a behavior is coming into the people. Secondly guys, it has been provided that as the vaccine started, the prime minister explicitly provided that the political leaders should not jump ahead and should not take the vaccines. It has been said that this is a wrong thing which has been done, because if the political leaders will be taking up the vaccine, it will infuse a kind of a confidence into the people. Now even into the US we have seen that the president elect Joe Biden had taken up the vaccine, then the vice president Mike Pence as well as the house speaker Nancy Pelosi, they have all taken up the vaccine. In India also such kind of things need to be promoted, so that people also come forward and they don't get hesitated. So guys, that is all into this particular direction, and now we'll be moving into the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Indian Express newspaper, and it talks about the recent observation that has been made by the Delhi High Court into the context of Right to Information Act. Now, guys, first of all, the Right to Information Act 2005 is the legislation which aims to instill the culture of transparency and the culture of accountability into the government. Now, guys, though the intention of the RTA Act was good, but it has been seen over the period that there have been many people who are using the RTI just for ulterior motives or to just proceed their vendetta. Guys, if we talk about the frivolous RTIs, then guys, the Prime Minister's office alone every day receives 1500 RTI applications, and they are many a times spanning to the useless questions. For example, what is the internet speed that is coming into the prime minister's office, what spices the prime minister is using, or how much money is paid to the cook, and all such kind of things, which is completely useless. Now, into this direction, the Delhi High Court has said that the disclosure of interest needs to be provided before a person is making an RTI application. Disclosure of interest means that you need to tell that why you are making an RTI, and if you will receive the information, what benefit it will be serving to you. Now, according to the Delhi High Court, it has been done to curb the frivolous RTI. Delhi High Court has observed that as large number of frivolous RTI are coming, even the genuine RTIs, they are getting delayed, and much of the needy information is not being provided, and the entire system has become jammed. We want to give the preference to the bona fide RTIs, so therefore the disclosure of interest is a must ground. Now, this particular thing, guys, has both of the implications, the negative implication as well as positive implication. Now, first of all, onto the positive side, we can see that it will actually be expediting the response by the public information officers, and in case if the PIO is not responding, if the appeal is made to the, for example, information commissioners, they can also be able to rectify the matter soon as why the information has not been provided, and actually the RTI's purpose will be resolved. But guys, onto the negative side, it has been said that many a times the RTIs are made into such a kind of a capacity that the immediate benefit cannot be told, but into the long term, such information is necessary. Moreover, guys, when the disclosure of interest is to be provided, many a times even the genuine disclosure might be said as something unworthy, politically motivated, ulterior, etc. Guys, we need to understand the spirit of the RTI lies into the fact that any information by any citizen can be asked, and actually by making a ground that is the disclosure of interest, we will be diluting the spirit of the RTI. And guys, into the last years, we have seen that RTA has been diluted on many of aspects. For example, in 2019, the RTA Amendment Act was introduced, by which the government has restricted the independence of the RTI. For example, guys, in 2019 RTI Act, it was provided that the central government can prescribe the term for the information commissioners. It has also provided that now the central government also has power that the salaries, allowances, and all other service conditions of the chief information commissioner as well as information commissioner can be fixed or decided by the central government. So guys, the independence of the information commissioners and the chief information commissioner has been compromised. Moreover, here the central government has also said that they can make the rule for the state government with respect to the service conditions of the state level information commissioners and chief information commissioners. So this particular provision has even been called as the breach onto the federalism. How? Because now the center is making the rule for the state government. So over the period, the RTI has been diluted, and now again the dilution of RTI is going on if the disclosure of interest, this particular provision or ground will be imposed. So guys, that is all into this particular direction, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Mint, and it is talking about the idea of the bad bank, which has been floated into the news nowadays. Guys, this article is important for your GS paper number 3 under the topics of economy and banking. Now, guys, let's take this particular article from very scratch. So, guys, the bad bank, this idea has been pretty old. As early as 2016 and 17, the economic survey floated the idea of para, that is the Public Asset Rehabilitation Agency. Now this particular agency will be buying up the bad NPAs or the bad accounts from the banks and will focus on recovering this particular money. Then guys, later this para only turned into the bad bank. So basically bad bank is nothing but is an asset reconstruction company which buys the bad assets from the banks. Guys, in 2020 when the pandemic was going on, Indian Banking Association floated that we should come out with the idea of the bad bank immediately. And now in 2021, the Reserve Bank of India's chief Shakti Kanta Das, that is the RBI governor, he had floated again the idea of the bad bank. And now as the budget is also about to come, this particular idea has again become very popular. Now guys, first of all, if we see that whether this bad bank's idea is unique to India or it is happening into the world, then we can find that actually after 2007-9 financial crisis, the idea of the bad bank become very much popular. For example, the Citibank, they created their own bad bank, that is the City Holding, and transferred the loans worth rupees 900 billion dollar to this bad bank. After that, the Barclays, Bank of America have done same kind of things. And guys, the Citibank particularly, after it transferred the NPAs to the bad bank, and the bad bank specifically focused on recovering the NPAs, there were substantial recoveries which we made, and this City Holding registered the profits also into the later time. Then guys, in 2019, even the Ireland took some of the steps into this direction. For example, they have established the National Asset Management Agency, which takes up the bad NPAs from the banks and try to resolve them. And guys, specifically if we talk about the USA, then the US passed the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008, and there was also the proposal of the bad bank which was floated. So basically, it is not only idea which is popular in India, but around the world, the bad bank has been a very popular concept. Now again, it has came to the limelight. Now guys, the question comes that whether the bad bank is a good idea for India or whether it is a bad idea. So we will be seeing arguments onto the both sides. First of all, why it is a good thing. Now, see, for this particular thing, first of all, you need to understand that what NPAs are. NPA stands for the non-performing asset. Now, guys, as you might be knowing that any organization, they have two sides into their balance sheet. One is the asset side, other is the liability side. Now, basically, whatever loan is being given by the bank, that loan is an asset, and therefore, onto the asset side, all these loans are written. Now, guys, when we are talking about some of the bank loans where the people are not returning their money onto the time, they turn the non-performing asset. It means that they are being reflected onto the asset size, but actually their realization is very much weak, and artificially the bank's balance sheet looks bloated. So therefore, we need to clean such kind of assets. And when the bad bank will be taking up this particular asset, the banks can start from a clean slate. Then guys, the next argument into this particular line comes is that the banks are the institution which whose main function is to do business by lending and borrowing. Their main function is not the recovery. So for the recovery, we need to identify a separate institution, and to that we need to give the recovery. So into this particular capacity also, it is a good idea. It will be giving the bank adequate time to focus on to their core competence. So therefore, this is a good idea. However, guys, on to the other hand, there are other people who says that it is actually a very bad idea. There are number of arguments into this line. Number one, it will be creating the problem of the moral hazard. Now, moral hazard means that the public sector banks which are having today large number of NPAs, they will become even more reckless, because at the end of the day, they have an assurance that there will be the bad bank which will be coming and will be taking away their loan. So they will become more reckless. Then, guys, the second problem is that actually it is nothing but the replication of the efforts. Guys, earlier also we are having large number of private asset reconstruction companies, and these ARCs have seen a relatively less success. For example, their recovery rate is just from 4% to 23%, and actually this higher rate has also been pushed because of the recoveries which has been made by the insolvency and bankruptcy code. So actually the ARCs have not been relatively much success. So how this bad bank will be a successful institution, it is a doubt. After that, guys, next thing is that how actually this bad bank will be resolving onto the core problem. The core problem is that why into the first place the NPAs are increasing. How that particular thing will be taken up by the bad bank has not been provided anywhere. So it is just doing the post-mortem analysis and is not actually curtailing the problem. Then, guys, the fourth problem that comes into this direction is the ownership of this bad bank. There will be no private owners which will be coming into this bad bank, because it is essentially a loss making entity. And B, if the government will be the entire owner, then guys, at the end of the day, government has to put their money, which will be putting the constraint onto the government resources at the end of the day. So the problem is not resolved. Now, guys, when we talk about the problem as how the NPA is occurring, so there are large number of factors into this direction. Number one, they occur due to the bad lending practices. Banks are neglecting that whether the person who is being given the loan, it has the capacity to pay back. Guys, today large number of money has been given to the infrastructural projects, and their viability is not taken care of. After that, guys, the banks have involved into a spree of competition where just the money are being given to compete with each other, and such a practice has been bad. Guys, even the 2007-9 global financial crisis was because of this competition only. After that, sometimes the NPAs happens because of the bank's internal credit policies flawed. Then guys, there are the environmental factors which many a times makes the project viable. Due to that, NPAs occur. And then guys, finally, the brand banking sector as a whole, it faces a kind of a crisis now. As you might be knowing that 2020 was a pandemic year, and into that the moratorium was imposed onto many of the payments. So therefore, this is also a kind of a crisis which came into the banking sector, and it had impacted the viability of many of the loans. So basically, we need to focus on to all these components rather than focusing on making an entirely a new institution, which will be a duplication of efforts. So guys, these are all the arguments into both of these light. I hope you have understood it, guys. Very important article for our GS paper number 3. So that's it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the recent direction given by the Delhi High Court in respect to preserve the right to health of the individuals, which has been guaranteed as a part of right to life under Article number 21 by the Supreme Court. Now, guys, if we go into the background of this particular article, so there are two children who are undergoing the treatment into the AIMS for the Duchenne muscular dystrophy disease. Now, this particular disease, it affects the boys largely, and it impacts the muscle health of the children. Guys, into this, the children, they become very much weak, and they face a problem that they are not able to run, they are not able to stand, and it is leading to large number of intellectual disability also. Guys, here the children, their area of thighs, pelvis, it becomes over bloated due to the increasing fat content, and it further leads to many other problems also. Now guys, this particular disease, it is a very rare disease, and always whenever the rare diseases are concerned, there is a problem that many companies, they are not making the vaccines or the medicines for these disease, and therefore basically there are very less number of medications, and they are often called as the orphan drugs. Now guys, the orphan drugs, they are very much expensive because as there is no huge market, the margins are very high, and there are very less number of pharmaceutical companies which are actually making these orphan drugs. Now guys, as into this particular news item, there are these two children who are facing this DMD disease, and they need the orphan drugs which can treat this particular disease. So this particular drug has to be imported, and it is highly priced, and they don't have the capacity to pay for this particular drug. Even the AIMS hospital, they had also said that even if the drug will be provided to the children, there will be no much impact, or there is no guarantee that they will be treated. Guys, even the hospital administration is also not having a specific fund that at by their own they can import and can give the drugs. So into this direction, the Delhi High Court now has said that the crowdfunding can be explored to help these two children. Now, crowdfunding means that donations will be asked from the public spirited individuals, organizations, etc., so that they can contribute some money so this drug can be imported. Now, guys, the Delhi High Court has provided it very clearly that even if the window of survival is very less, no individual can be denied their right to good health as well as the right to medical care. So, this is the observation which has been made. Now, guys, into this particular capacity, Delhi High Court has also said that the government should finalize the draft health policy for rare disease 2020. Now, under this draft health policy, it was said that if such a kind of a condition will be occurring, then the health gap can be funded by seeking donations from the public or from the corporate donors. So, this particular policy also needs to be finalized so that such kind of children can be helped. So, guys, that is all into this particular direction, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Mint newspaper, and it is talking about recent changes into the pattern that are coming with respect to the women labor force participation rate. Now, guys, this particular article will be very important into our GS paper number 1 into the women related issues, as well as into the GS paper number 3 with respect to the role of women into the Indian economy. Now, if we talk about the women labor force participation rate, it is consistently going down. As per NSSO, that is the National Sample Survey Office data, it was a 33.5% in 2004 and had only reached to 22.3% in 2017. Now, what are the reasons as this women labor force participation rate is going down? Guys, first of all, just one particular extra information I would like to give you. See, there is the U-shaped hypothesis, which is often given into the context of the declining women labor force participation rate. According to it, see, as the GDP of a country is less, when the development is less, there is more women which are participating into the labor force. However, as the GDP per capita will be increasing, more of a development will be coming, women will withdraw out of the labor force. It is there are the reasons which we will be discussing here. And then guys, after a specific level of per capita GDP has increased, after a country has become relatively more developed, again more and more women will join the labor force. So guys, partly India's labor force participation rate is declining because, as per the U-shaped hypothesis, right now the India's per capita GDP is increasing, and by that the women are leaving their jobs and they are now seeking more education. Now because of more prosperity, they need not to work, all such kind of things. So whenever the women labor force participation rate is being talked about, give a reference of the U-shaped hypothesis. Now guys, taking the reasons more into the detail, now many of the terminologies have been used here. Guys, I will encourage that please use these terminologies into your answer sheets. First of all, it has been said that the women leave their jobs because of the income effect. When the prosperity of the household increases, or particularly when the women are married into the high income households, due to this increased income, they pull out of the labor force. Moreover guys, along with it, there is also the issue of the status trap or the marrying money concept which comes. Now it means that as the household into which the women are married, if it is having high income, they have a particular status which is to be maintained, and to that particular thing they cannot allow the women to work outside. So this is the marrying money or status trap concept. So this status trap terminology has been coined by the sociologist Srinivas, whereas Karen Kapadia, another sociologist, has coined the term marrying money. Then guys, the next is the issue of marriage and motherhood penalties. Now it means that the women, they have to do care work, they have to rear their children, and into that capacity also women are not able to work outside. According to guys recently released time use survey 2019, it has been seen that a traditional woman spends 5 hours onto the household domestic responsibilities, whereas the male, they are only spending 1 hour. So there is a marriage and motherhood penalty which has to be paid by the women by withdrawing out of the job. Now guys, it has been said that even into the metropolitan cities where there are people having more broader mindsets, majority of them, they want a daughter by an arranged marriage which can compromise onto the career and can give more focus onto the household responsibilities. Moreover guys, into the multi-generation households, this marriage or a motherhood penalty is more. Now we can see that due to the advancement into the science and medical technologies, now the elders are living more, and for that particular thing women have to be the primary caregivers. Then guys, it has been said that even right now the secure jobs are not there, and parents are still considerate with respect to the security of their girls. Guys, into the past few years, the growth has came into the private sector, and the private sector is marked by the field jobs and all such kind of things where the parents don't feel that their daughter will be more safe. Then guys, after that, a very good terminology have been used here into the article, that is family mobility strategies as well as the concerted cultivation of the women. Now this concerted cultivation was a phrase which was coined by the sociologist Annette Lauro. Now according to this particular concept, it has been said that today the women are making a sacrifice in order to cultivate their children for a better future. For example guys, you know that even the well read and well educated women, they are staying at home so that they can teach their children, they can keep a check onto their education. Many a times the mothers are accompanying the children into their preparations. For example, they are going to Kota if the children are preparing for IIT or medical, they are coming to Delhi along with their children if they are preparing for UPSC. And because of that particular thing also, a large number of women are pulling out of their jobs. And guys, even it has been said that the women who are involved into the government jobs, they are seeking the 2-year child care leave during the children's 10th and 12th exam. So this is simply the concept of the family mobility strategies where women are compromising in order to give a better future to their children in terms of education. So guys, that is all about this particular article. A very good insight has been given. Please utilize it into your paper. So guys, that's all about this particular article. Guys, see, nowadays very good articles are not coming into the Hindu newspapers repeatedly. Even today, the articles onto the Capitol siege, the Trumpism, etc. has are coming. We have discussed that particular issue very comprehensively, and every day you need not to go into that thing. Try to find out new insights. So guys, you have to be more selective into your studies, as now UPSC is changing its pattern very drastically. So guys, that's all about this article. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is a very brief update or a reference which we can see. So here, guys, Aero India's 13th edition, that is the Aero India 2021, is going to held. So Aero India is a, guys, biennial air show. It means it happens every 2 years. The first edition of the Aero India was held in 1996, and in 2021 the 13th edition is going to held. Now, guys, into this 13th edition, the India will be showcasing its helicopter capabilities. Guys, it has been said that India's manufacturing prowess into the helicopters have been unprecedented, and here the light utility helicopters, weaponized advanced light helicopter, light combat helicopters, they will be displayed. Moreover, here the defense minister of India will also be participating into a conclave of the defense ministers from the Indian Ocean littoral states. Guys, India is emerging out to be a net security provider into this particular region, so therefore it becomes a kind of an important leadership role that India is going to play here. So guys, that is all that you need to pay. Other information is not very much necessary for your examination. So guys, that's it for the today's newspaper discussion. Friends, I believe that this initiative is is helping you out and is being fruitful to your preparation. So that's all for the today's, guys. Thank you so much.